Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about Ron Rivera and why I think the Washington Commanders should move on from him, but why I think they ultimately won't move on from him, at least not this offseason. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also hit that like button and that notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. And real quick, guys, I just want to say prayers up to Damar Hamlin and his family, the Bills, the Bengals, everyone who is involved in that situation. It's really, really scary, and hopefully he is able to pull through. It's hard to transition for that, but I just wanted to talk about that real quick. So yesterday's video, I kind of talked about the state about, the Commanders and how they're just not in a great spot because, 3 7-win seasons in a row. Maybe we'll get to 8, hopefully not, but we're probably going to have 3 7-win seasons in a row, and you still don't have that quarterback's, position fixed at all. You kind of invested some capital in Wentz that, it all went for nothing. I mean, you wasted a third-round pick last year and won this year as well. It's not a good situation, and the guy that's partially responsible for that is Ron Rivera. I mean, honestly, he is responsible for this roster and the state of this team right now. And yes, Dan Snyder's terrible and everything, but Ron Rivera right now is the one to blame. He's the one with full control. And Dan Snyder did give him full control, but Ron Rivera has made a lot of questionable decisions in the last 3 years, and not just, front office stuff, but stuff as a coach. I mean, the clock management just absolutely awful. The use of challenges, which ends up wasting timeouts, absolutely awful. Like, he is not a good game manager in terms of clock management, challenges, other stuff like that. Some of his decisions to go or to not go for it are absolutely terrible. And then when he makes the right decision, Scott Turner goes up there and screws it up. And that's part of it. He's too loyal. Ron Rivera is too loyal. Like Scott Turner, I don't think he deserved to be fired after last year just because of what he had to work with, but by no means did he deserve an extension. I thought he was better than what the stats are showing just because of how bad the offense was, and I thought, okay, bring him back next year and see what he can do with a different quarterback, because he probably wanted Wentz for at least a little bit. I bet you Rivera, kind of consulted him about it, and Scott Turner probably said it was fine, so he had a little bit of say in the quarterback. And this year was just a complete failure, but I don't know why they gave him an extension before the year started. He proved nothing up until that point, but that's why I think Scott Turner is going to stay here. First off, let's talk about why I think Rivera is going to stay. First off, even if Snyder was not selling, I don't know if he would want to switch coaches right now, pay the buyout for Ron Rivera, Del Rio, Turner. I don't know. That's just my thought, though. I think Dan Snyder's got so many things on his plate that the last thing he's thinking about right now is, do we need to bring another coach and just get this whole new process started with? He's probably focusing on all the legal issues he has, and that's why I just don't think he would move on from Rivera. And then if he is, selling the team, I think he's definitely not. If he's selling the team, he's not going to fire Rivera and hire a new staff before the owners come in. He's going to let the owners decide that. And if that happens, it's probably going to happen in like February to April, May. So this regime, I believe, will be here next year. I really think so. And, at the end of the day, that's not the end of the world. We're just going to have to survive with this regime another year. They're not great. By no means are they great, but I can live with them for another year if it means Snyder will be gone. Snyder's the root of the issues. He's the reason why we got to this place, to this 3-13 year, to this 8-year stretch of just mediocrity. Look at this: 9, 8, 7, 7, 3, 7, 7, 7. I mean, you're averaging like what? 6.5, 7 wins over this 8-year stretch. That's the absolute worst place you can be in the NFL. And just got first once in the last 8 years. I'm just making sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 years. We've gotten first 2 times in the last 8 years. We've gotten second none. We've gotten fourth twice, including this year. and then we've gotten four times. So it is so mediocre. This team's been so mediocre, and when Ron Rivera's been here, it's 3 straight years of 7 wins. And I just want to talk about Ron Rivera, why I just don't think he's the guy. I mean, look at like these stats right here. The amount of losing seasons he's had, and I don't know if there's ever. I think Jeff Fisher has been close to some of these stats, but Rivera, 5 straight losing seasons as a head coach, and he's had 7 out of 9 losing seasons. Just, yeah, not good. I really think it's time to move on from him. And the roster, it's his roster. He's the one that made this roster. He's the one that decided to trade a third, a conditional second, and a second-round pick swap for Carson Wentz. And not only that, but he decided to pay $28 million. First off, we should have never had to trade for Wentz. It should have been okay, we'll sign him in free agency. Okay, maybe if you think you can't sign him in free agency because they were going to cut him. Or if you somehow think a team's going to trade for him, maybe give up a 5th-round pick. And I guarantee you, if you were like, okay, the Colts, this is all we're going to do. We know you're going to release him, or he's not going to come back. Like, we have the leverage here. 5th-round pick, that's more than you're going to get from anyone else. It's a different division, or different conference. 5th-round pick, we'll do it. And you know what? We'll pay half of the salary. That would have been fine for me. That would have been fine. Would it have been the ideal quarterback scenario? No. But once for $14 million and a 5th-round pick, that's fine. You could use that $14 million to keep Eric Flowers, maybe sign another offensive guard, maybe keep Sheriff, but I don't think Sheriff was staying. But you could have done other things, maybe a linebacker or something. But he decides to pay. Like, the biggest thing is, the capital we gave up, and also paying him $28 million just really limited what we could do as a team. Like, it just really limited what we could do. Imagine if we had $28 million and just Heineke and Howell as our QBs. We could have definitely kept Eric Flowers, signed another guard, like a good guard, and I don't know, maybe sign a tight end at that point wasn't a big need, but you could have signed another linebacker, maybe a corner, like could have done a lot of things, man, and you would have kept those 2 third-round picks. It was just a disaster of a trade, and it's something like, okay, I didn't have a huge problem with the player when they traded for Wentz. I just had a bigger deal with the trade. But that's the issue with Ron. He just doesn't know how these things work. Like, the other team had all the leverage. And drafting-wise, Ron, so far, it's hard to tell. It seems like he's done an okay job, but, it's hard to tell. This draft class, it's too early, a lot of injuries. The one before that, it's tough to say because, Jamin Davis has improved, but, does his play really look like, okay, that guy is a first-round linebacker? Not really. Not really. He's definitely better this year, but that's not saying a lot, if you think about it, because of what he was last year. He's still a lot better. He's playing better. We'll see if he ends up being worth it. That is to be determined. Sam Cosmi, what happened this year? I have no idea. With the injury, De'Ami Brown, definitely not worth a 3rd-round pick. Benjamin St-Juste, yes, but a lot of injuries these last couple years. And then Bates, I think, has been worth the 4th-round pick. Derek Forrest, definitely yes. And then Dax Milne, 7th-round pick, that's fine. So it's really tough to say. That's an okay draft class. Derek Forrest really saves it there, but it's still yet to be seen. Free agency definitely has had his whiffs. William Jackson III, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's had some good signings as well. J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, Wes Schweitzer, Curtis Samuel. But I don't know. I think another thing with him is, again, his loyalty. And this is just all over the place rant. I'm sorry. But his loyalty of, okay, I'm going to keep bringing the same guys, the same practice squad guys. Danny Johnson actually has been good. But Troy Apke. Let's bring in all these same guys that have never done anything. We're just going to keep bringing them in because they know the system, instead of bringing in some high upside guys that could maybe end up being difference makers. They bring in the same guys. They don't take risks in free agency, or not many, like especially this past offseason. It was obvious some of the needs that they needed this offseason. Linebacker. They desperately needed linebacker depth. What do? They signed John Bostic a week before the season started. Like, no, that was an awful move. Cornerback depth. It was obvious they needed some cornerback depth, and they didn't do it. And at times this year they struggled because of that. And there's some other positions as well that, man, like the offensive line, they ruined it. They ruined it this year. Eric Flowers should have never been gone, and some of the other moves they made just were questionable. And Ron really frustrates me with the way he does things. You know, he likes the low-tier Carolina guys, but whenever the good ones are available, like James Bradbury and others, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, I didn't really care about Christian McCaffrey, but yeah, you know, Rivera has his problems, and you could definitely do worse, but you can do a lot better, and I don't trust Ron Rivera to pick a QB and develop him. I really don't. Like, do you guys? Like, I don't know if they can pick a QB. I mean, they went after Ryan Fitzpatrick. That didn't work. They went after Carson Wentz. That didn't work. They wanted to go after Russell Wilson, and that wouldn't have worked. And, I mean, I would have been wrong about that, too. I wanted Russell Wilson. But there's a lot of issues with Rivera and company, and I don't think it's going to happen, though. I think he's going to be here. I think he's going to keep the coaching staff in place, Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio. He's made one switch in the last 3 years, and that's moving on from Sam Mills and, you know, promoting Ryan Kerrigan to D-line coach. Besides that, everyone stayed the same despite the struggles. Steve Russ, like linebackers, you know, he hasn't developed them. He should be gone like many other guys. Scott Turner should be gone. And, you know, nothing's changed. They had Kevin O'Connell here when, Rivera got here. Of course, didn't want to keep him, and look where he's at, where he's at now. He's, succeeded as a OC with the, not St. Louis Rams, Los Angeles Rams, and then now he's a head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, who are winning their division. So, yeah, it sucks. There's a lot of problems with this franchise, and I do believe Ron Rivera is one of them. He's respectable, which is great, and I do believe the players respect him. I respect him, and everything he's gone through. I think he's done, a solid job at times. But when you come into you say this year is a year, things are going to be different. The third year is when things really change, and then nothing changes. Like, you got to be held accountable. I think you should, and I think he's going to be back next year. And if he is, I mean, he's going to feel the pressure. He will feel the pressure, especially if there's a new owner. He will feel the pressure, and I think this offseason could be a big offseason in terms of spending, maybe some trades and aggressiveness, because he knows this is probably his last year unless he can get his 10-plus wins. So that's it for today's video. No news on Sam Howell yet. I'm hoping he's a starter. He needs to be the starter. There is zero reason he should not be the starter. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.